And welcome to ServiceNow.com's single sign-on training focused on Digest Authentication. My name is John Anderson. I'll be presenting this training. I'm a senior consultant at ServiceNow.com. During this training, we're going to cover just a quick run-through about what is Digest Authentication with respect to single sign-on. We're going to set up Digest Authentication single sign-on in ServiceNow instance. We're going to test it, actually do a Digest Authentication, and then we're going to talk a little bit about security. Digest Authentication is just one of several options that you have for single sign-on with ServiceNow.com and your existing environment. With single sign-on, a company typically has their own company portal or other system where a user is already logged into the system. And so the system knows the identity of that user. The trick is to involve that user then into an authentication method that gets that user automatically authenticated into a ServiceNow.com session. In a Digest Authentication scenario, both the company and ServiceNow.com instance share a secret key. And for the example in this tutorial, we are going to use a secret key of SNC rocks. With the Digest Authentication scenario, the company portal will combine the user that is authenticated with the shared secret key. They're going to digest that username through the shared key to generate a digest token. The company portal will then take the information, the username, and the new digest token to generate a link or a button or some other method of sending this information to ServiceNow.com. In our example today, the portal is building a link that stores the user in a user parameter field and the digest token in a digest parameter field. So when the user clicks on this link, it's going to send this request to ServiceNow.com. When this authentication request, this URL request, is sent to ServiceNow.com, ServiceNow will start processing this URL and processing the request parameters, the user and the digest. ServiceNow will strip out the user field and store John in a user variable, and then it will strip out the digest parameter and store the digest token in a digest variable. ServiceNow will then take the digest token and apply the shared secret key that it shares with your company. In this case, again, it's SNC rocks. We're going to use this key to undigest this digest token to get a real username. Once the string or digest token is decoded using the shared secret key, we end up with the result of John, the username, on the other system. ServiceNow will then compare the username that was sent over in the HTTPS request with the undigested token that was unraveled. If those two usernames are equivalent, then it will go and it will log John into the system. In order to set up your ServiceNow.com instance to handle Digest Authentication, there's a few steps that you need to take. First, you're going to need to enable the Digest Single Sign-On Installation Exit in your instance. In order to get to the installation exit, I just start typing installation in the navigation search bar here, and it will automatically filter installation exits on the left-hand side. As you can see, here is Digest Single Sign-On, and it's set to false currently. We're going to double-click next to it, and we're going to set it to true. Next step we need to take is to fill out the single sign-on system properties. Alright, in order to get to the single sign-on properties, you just type in single here in the search bar and you'll see single sign-on under system properties. Once you click on that, you'll see these settings right here. We're going to make sure that this is enable our external authentication. Now we need to set what the key name is that will be used to identify the digest token. It can be anything you want, you just need to be consistent between your system and ServiceNow.com. In this example, we're going to use the keyword of digest. Now, we're going to also be sending over the username that's not digested. It's just going to be plain text. And in our example, we're using the key of user. Now, once ServiceNow.com gets a digest and a user and it compares them, it's going to need to know what to compare them against. And we're going to compare that token to the username field in a ServiceNow.com user object. It could be email address. It's up to you how you want to do this. And then we need to have a secret passphrase. And in this example, it's going to be SNC rocks. And then we need to go and save this. Now we should have ServiceNow.com set up for Digest Authentication. Let's test it out, make sure it's going to work. In order to do that, we're going to use an online tool that will help us generate a Digest token using the shared key that we created. In order to do that, we're going to go to a website that I like to use. It's called ServiceNowGuru.com. If you go to the integrations page and select single sign-on, we're going to choose the digested token option. When you choose that, you're going to get this tool right here. You're going to be able to specify what instance you're going against. For our example, we're going to go against just a homegrown instance that I have on my own computer. The username we're going to use, we're going to pretend like we're logged in as John in our company portal. We're going to do the hash for our digest token using SHA-1. And if you'll remember, the shared secret that we set up in our instance is SNC rocks. For this example, we're going to use post or get so that we can see what that URL looks like. Now we're going to click the Prepare SSO button and see what we get back. As you can see here, let's scroll down. We're going to get a URL that takes the instance name and it combines a user key with our username of John, and then a digest token right here. This is our secret key hashed together with the username of John. Now if you remember, in our instance we set this field here as user and this field here as digest. So we're going to need to change that when we test it. We're going to copy and paste this into a browser that's not authenticated into our ServiceNow.com instance. Now I have a different browser up here that's not currently authenticated to my ServiceNow.com instance. I'm going to paste the URL into the browser field, and I'm going to replace this SM user key with our user key that we specified in our instance. Same with this DE user, I'm going to use the key of digest just because we need to be consistent with the ServiceNow.com instance. We type those in and we have our digest key in, so I'm going to hit enter and you'll see that it's established a session. It unraveled the digest, saw that it was user John, compared John, they equaled each other, and so it found a username called John and logged me in as that user. So here we are, no password was passed, we just authenticated as John. Now as far as security is concerned, the security concepts that we have with a digested token is we need to have a secret key on both sides. Both the company and ServiceNow.com will share that secret key. You must have that to unravel the token. Also, this was not the case in our example because this was a homegrown instance on my system, but on a regular ServiceNow.com instance, the URL request header is sent through HTTPS. So it's encrypted as it goes across the wire. Now, instead of using get like we used for this example, you'll want to use post or cookies or some other method of sending those request parameters to ServiceNow.com. Now, if you need additional security, you do have the option of setting up a nonce or some other security device and digest it in with your username. You can do any other variations there to increase your security. One final note on the ServiceNowGuru.com website when you're generating this SSO request, down below are examples in PHP, Java, and C# that you can use to actually create your own digest. Thank you for joining me on this Digest Authentication training session.